Welcome to Never Too Serious with Scott and Dave. I'm Scott.
And I'm Dave.
Welcome to episode number, I think it's 60 now.
Get out of town.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, I haven't been able to count past 14.
You need to grow some more digits so you can keep up, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll see what I can do. You know what, Scott? I think we should talk about maps today.
Oh,
and I'm not talking about,
like Google Maps?
Yeah, that would be kind of uplifting, right?
That would be.
No, we're going to talk about something else, Scott. Minor attracted persons. And I know that it's something I don't want to say I wanted to talk about, but we kind of have a platform to bring it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been saying this is before the internet. I'm not alone when I say that there's in our own families, in our own churches, and in the people that we think is important, or in entertainment, every which way we look is somebody that does something devastating. And as a kid, or even a young adult, I'll say I just seen that there've been more. It's always happened, but they're more. It seems like it's more out and about. We all are.
It's being more normalized.
See, I hate saying that, but it's true. And I've said it like I want to say 20 years ago. Well, I better watch out. They're going to be trying to say that it's okay, and they're trying to get people to consider it okay.
Yeah.
And it's not okay. And I'm not going to be bashful about saying it's not okay because it's just effed up. I know we've talked about like the LGBT community, and to each their own on that. And why I'm bringing them up is that they're riding their coattails. They're trying to use their push for being treated as equals, and they're trying to, like, when they open the gate saying, yes, you guys deserve to be treated as equals, and then they're going, hey, me too, me too, I'm a maps, I've got my own letters, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just seeming that there's people out in the open about it, and everybody's making excuses about it. People will get mad at people like me that says what you're doing is effed up, and then they're thinking, to me, that's not nice. You can't be talking bad about that. You know what? This is one thing we should all feel the same about, in my opinion.
Well, there's even within that particular community, there's conflict between the homosexual community versus like the transgender.
Yeah.
And because they're not fighting exactly for the same things.
No.
But with the transgender community, it was always labeled as a like a mental disorder, right. Gender dysphoria.
That's right.
And so with the pedophilia thing is that this particular segment also have been identified as having a mental disorder.
That's right.
And they're trying to kind of do what you're saying, which is merge with them and try and normalize it and make it out to be like it's this thing that people need to accept and be more
accepting of.
Yeah.
Right. And they're going to want us to call them and be happy about who they are. And how I try to see it is because I don't put them in the same boat ever. Being now, mind you, in the gay community, there's going to be some pedophiles. Like I said, they're going to be everywhere.
Exactly.
And same
everywhere.
With the transgender community, there's going to be some pedophiles. But generally, as straight people, gay people, whatever, that is a victimless people.
It's generally
pedophiles
consensual.
Have to have a victim, and even if they have their thoughts, their thoughts always have to have a victim.
Well, we're talking in particular about, kids prepubescent who are still developing, psychologically, and they are victims. The reason that we have these certain standards of what age you can be independent or get married or whatever is because we know as adults that segment of the population is not developed far enough to make proper decisions on their own, and so we protect them. And this particular segment of the population, the MAP folks, are taking advantage of that, no matter what their psychological attraction is to minors. That's a segment of the population we still need to protect. And unfortunately, what we're talking about today is about these people who are predisposed to being attracted to these younger folks.
So, Scott, the legal age for consent, if you will, differs throughout the state. Mm-hmm. So do you know if the age has gone down? Like, is everybody fighting to bring the age down?
No, in fact, I think it's going the other direction. Is that there's even in other countries I saw that the age of getting married, they're pushing that up even above 18 in some countries. In the United States, I want to say that there's some legal differences between, like, for instance, if two teenagers are hot for each other versus someone who's over 18 that's dating someone under 18, then there's different rules of engagement there.
Right.
But we're talking, in this particular case, we're talking about children that haven't hit puberty yet.
Right.
I mean, this is a very vulnerable population. I mean, high school, yes, there's a lot of development that still needs to take place. But there's, like, this particular segment, these MAPS folks are really, we're talking prepubescent. This is horrible stuff.
Children.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard to, I say it that way because there are a couple states that their ages differ from consent. Mm-hmm. But like you're saying is that they don't push, they're not pushing to lower the rate. Right. They've been pushing it throughout the years, raising it. And
I know
so hard.
It's horrible. Yeah, I know it's hard. It's a hard topic. When you said that, we should talk about this, I had been on Twitter, and there was a video that went viral from this. I guess he was a professor or a professor. I can't remember if they said it was an aide of a professor at this university or if he was a professor, but he wrote a book, kind of about this thing, and he was answering a question. And it's quite disturbing. I'm gonna play it for you.
Let's check it out.
You're not gonna like it.
Oh, great! Let's piss me off.
So much for that question. I use the term minor attracted person, or MAP, in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile.
It just hurts
a lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender. And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction.
Oh, my God. Okay,
doesn't it?
Number one, the definition of pedophile is not actually someone who has committed a crime of pedophilia. Mm-hmm. It's actually just exactly what he's talking about,
right,
or they are talking about. It's a person who is attracted to minors.
Yeah.
That is a pedophile.
Right.
He's trying to, or they are trying to change our perception of that.
Right. Because it's stigmatized. It sounds terrible.
As it is.
Like, we don't want to call a murderer murder because they kill things. We need to call them, a person that likes to manipulate one's life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, come on.
They just want to be able to sleep at night and be sick Fs at the same time.
Yeah. It bothers me. So this particular person, I wrote down their name, Allyn Walker. And they... I'm going to screw that one up the entire show. They wrote a book, and it's called A Long Dark Shadow, and it's really about trying to normalize this. I can't even.
I don't think I'm going to read that book.
I'm not going to read it either. Let's see. Yeah, he's an assistant. They are an assistant professor at Old Dominion University, and
that's a problem.
And that is a problem. And it sounds like they were removed, but I hate saying they.
I'm not. I don't.
Talked about this.
It's just
advocacy.
One person, just so you know.
I know it's not. It's not proper English. It's really hard to say. was talking about before you act, and it's actually B and the number 4, and then the single U, and then ACT. It's an advocacy group for people who are into children, and they're trying to support these people, help them with different, mental help. The problem is that they're also trying to get the rest of the community, the rest of the world, to cut these people some slack,
right,
and not stigmatize them or their behavior or their thoughts. Well, there are so many different areas in our world right now where, pedophilia is well known. Talk about Catholic Church.
right.
One of the biggest, I don't know, I might have some stats here about how much money has actually been allocated, but it's in the billions.
Right. And mind you, any church or religion you're going to find this, but Catholic Church is well known. And it feels like they are not slowing up the situations either.
Yeah. Well, really, this is these people, these pedophiles exist everywhere. It's not just in the Catholic Church. They just happen to have probably the most and the highest payout to the victims.
Right.
But we're talking Hollywood.
Yeah.
We're talking in schools. There's a whole bunch of different places that have these folks that are kind of like under the radar. Because they haven't acted yet, but I say yet because there's still, with these folks, there's a high desire to be with children.
Right. And I will have to say, more I think about something in life makes me want to go achieve it, from building a home or a car I've always wanted. And, when people have good thoughts or bad thoughts and then it's continuing, they're likely going to have a mix-up, have a oopsie.
And you never know at what stage.
Right. They
may not have issues through their 20s and 30s.
And, I don't take away the issue of most of these people if not all of them, have been harmed in their life at some point. But
that's a very good point.
They are responsible for their own actions. And, in my life, I know some family members, I guess, that, they were Catholic and they would do some bad things, go repent on the weekend, clean slate, do it again and again and again and again. And to what consequence? I know there are consequences out there, but it's so few and far between. So many victims don't even come forward. Some of them might come forward years and years later, but some of them never do. Some of the victims will start being finding victims of their own when they get older. It's a cycle. It's a domino effect. And like you said, they're still developing, and they're confused. It was kind of weird. I had found out that a friend of mine when I was a kid was minor attracted. I want to be nice. Just kidding. He was a pedo. And he said a term, and I hate it now. I can't stand it. It just ruins everything. Like if I go out to a restaurant and I go, well, hey, how's your steak? And they go, oh, it's really tender. I go, oh, don't want that.
Nope.
Because that's the word that he used when I was going, what? 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 Threw up a little bit in my mouth. We got to not be buddies anymore, And I will say this because it's not an excuse, but he wasn't treated well when he was a kid either. And it's somebody has to put a stop to it at some point so it doesn't continue on, at least on your your tree, you know.
Well, and some of these folks, they'll get to a point where they may not have acted on their desires, but throughout their life, they've positioned them to be closer and closer. And at what point do they give in?
A lot of these people do find things that help their desires. Example, if I'm a gun guy, I told you, if I ever retire, I'd love to go work in a gun shop. I want to be close to what I like. If I'm a car guy, I might want to go work at if I like exotic cars, well, I might be able to afford one, but I'm going to go work in a place that sells them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people will be, I mean, like I said, anywhere, but from church to be around them, they'll like look at jobs and places that they could go help, quote, work or help out.
Mm-hmm.
And like a school bus driver, teachers,
coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta keep my eyes on you, buddy.
I know. Well, we had this conversation before where, I have to be out in the open or other people around because I don't want to be in an environment where I'm by myself with another athlete, because even just the claim of misconduct.
Right. Because you are a very kind, nice, helpful person.
Well, thank you.
And somebody, if you were to have your hand on your back, hey, you did a good job today.
Mm-hmm.
And the wrong person come back and think something else of that,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're right. It's for the benefit of you and the children, and heck, even the parents that are concerned. You're doing the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
And you could still have the closeness of, of coach and what do you call them, trainee? I don't know what you call.
Athlete. I guess.
But to be cautious, and also in being cautious, the child will never even have that, feeling of maybe somebody trying to be inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
It's
this Before You Act organization. They have this document. They call it Principles and Perspectives of Practice. Again, they're trying, at least from what I'm reading, is that they want to provide some sort of mental health support for these type of folks. The problem is that there's a lot of language in here that makes me uncomfortable about how they want the general public to look at them.
right.
Here's the number 6 of 7 principles that they have. It's stigma reduction. It says, we recognize the severe stigma directed against minor attracted people by the media, politicians, law enforcement officials, and some health professionals. Well, yeah, of course. We oppose the perpetuation of false stereotypes and the use of language that installs fear in the public, fails to promote understanding, and ignores the humanity of minor attracted people. Already it's going in a direction I don't like.
Yeah, and how dare they say negative things about them?
Yeah. We realize that stigma and stereotypes force minor attracted people to remain in hiding and prevent those who could benefit from mental health services from receiving them. We do not believe this serves the interests of the children, minor attracted people, or society in general. Therefore, providers have an obligation within their profession and community to speak up and confront stereotype perpetuating statements made by professional colleagues, family members, friends, the media. Providers need to educate professionals and the larger community regarding persons' sexuality, attraction to children or adolescents. Again, it seems to me that they're trying to destigmatize, and I'm sorry, I don't think that's a good idea. I think that it's a horrible thing, and you should carry a stigma if that is what you are attracted to. Yes, I want you to have mental health services, support, all of those things, but let's not try and normalize it, make it out to be something that is okay.
Yeah, let's normalize it as it's a situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's normal.
But we already know that. Right.
Well, they don't.
Yeah. Oh.
They need to see it as such, not instead of sitting there trying to rename it so it sounds nicer to them, because pedophile or chomo or child molester, whatever you want to call it, is just, that's a hurtful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It pisses me off,
and me too.
And again, I really hope that every every walk of life, whatever you believe in, whoever you want to marry or be with, they all, if there's one thing we could get on board with, couldn't it be this? Leave our
Couldn't we agree
kids
on
alone?
this? Yeah.
My gosh, your kids are such a clean slate when they're born. And, my daughter's a great girl, but, she's a teenager and she has tendencies to being a jerk once in a while or doing stuff that she shouldn't be doing.
It's normal for her age.
But there's already enough against that's tarnishing her clean slate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Man.
And this just straight destroys them. It'll destroy them. Another person very close to me is very old, in the 70s, and something happened to her 60 years ago. Bothers her today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you talk to a lot of these people, they're like, no, I don't want to bring it up, blah, blah, blah. It's still hiding the bad guy. I can't think of what do we call them? The person that
pedophile.
Yeah, okay, the pedophile.
We'll just call him.
I know, but
how we see him.
You have victims, and then you have I'm missing a word. You have victims, and you have the person,
the perpetrator.
The perpetrator. Thank you. And
the victimizer.
Victimizer. So, and I feel that the more that people talk about it, even if it was their own pain, number one, it puts it back onto the victimizer, and more off of the victim. It doesn't seem that way. There's a lot of embarrassment, a lot of bringing up issues, but it still affects you so long, and so many people still like, I don't want to bring up, I don't want to create waves. Create those waves, people. Fucking make those waves.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting this right, but I kind of understand that people have sins, okay? They have bad thoughts. People might go, maybe even me, said, man, if I go in that bank right now, rob that bank, I might have $7 more than I have now. I don't know what I get out of there. But it's not an illegal, I know it's a sinful, quote, thought, but it's not illegal unless I act upon it. I kind of feel that these people might have these attractions, no doubt, but it should not be ever acted upon. But in fact, you need help with it. But I could understand why they say it's not illegal to have a thought. You can't.
Yeah, of course.
Have I ever said, "Oh, I'm going to kill that guy"? Have I ever meant it or not? I'm not going to say. But but it's only illegal. I want us to be able to have that thought. Yeah. I mean, not that thought, but have our own thoughts.
Yeah, we're talking about Minority Report.
But yeah. But to be able to have the restraint to not act upon them. So I guess I could kind of understand that. I mean, I don't want anybody to have those kinds of thoughts, but if they do, I would like them to go, you know what? I'm going to actually bring this out in the open, and I'm going to go get help with it because it isn't normal. I don't care if people think that everybody wants to just make everything normal, good or bad. It needs to be normal because we don't want to offend anybody. Some people we need to freaking offend, and the people that want to look out, reach out for help with this, I'm willing to offend them. I'll treat them horribly. I always said that I wish I could remember the shows, but there's a couple of shows maybe you might know that if I could, hell, I'd do it today if they could pay me. I have to, unfortunately, pay for my life, but as retiring, to volunteer my time where these people, lack of better words, they catfish these pedophiles. And then they meet up with them, and these pedophiles will have a bag of goodies and toys and alcohol to meet up with these kids, and they will bust their butts right then and there. And now, mind you, they didn't allow anything to act upon it, but they know that they're out there, and it's a deterrent, and that would be such a satisfying job to attempt to stop that.
Well, yeah, there's a series on Dateline for a number of years where they were setting stings trying to catch these people because I mean it's disgusting and horrible.
Yeah, that's right. Dateline did do one. I think I saw one where this guy goes, don't remember names, sorry guys, but he was like, hey, you're blah blah blah. Oh shit. Because like,
because he knew.
right. One guy went out the window. I don't know if it was Dateline, but I mean it'd be some satisfying to start letting them know it's not okay.
There was I want to say it was a Dateline as well, where they went to like Cambodia and basically found this U.S. doctor who would go there and vacation there and go to these strip clubs and then hook up with these minors. And this was talking about, he could get like 3 girls for $50. And it floors me that this person, they go to Cambodia where I don't know what the laws and stuff are. It's just super accessible. But then what does he do when he comes back to the United States? Is there a danger there? Well, yeah, I think there is danger there.
Well, it's just going to I'm getting sick and tired flying all the way over there. I can't recall if it was in Cambodia, but it was another country. And they did an undercover deal, and there was a bunch of mothers with a bunch of these kids, and they were selling them, having babies and selling them. It's so
horrible.
I was wondering if we could take a quick break here.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Dave and I appreciate you listening to the show. Please take a moment and write a review on Apple Podcast or podchaser.com. And since Spotify doesn't currently have reviews, simply telling your friends about the show would be great too. Also, you can always reach out to us at our website, nevertooserious.com, or via our socials at the NTS Podcast. And seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, thanks again for listening to the show. All right. Dave, you were bringing up this Jared Fogle. Give a little bit of background on who he is.
Yeah. Well, he's a gentleman that just an everyday dude, everyday really heavy set dude at one point in time. And I don't care about the details too much, but, he ended up eating Subway sandwiches. And, he lost a ton of weight. So he became kind of Subway heard about it and put him on a lot of his commercials. And, he made pretty big on that. It was kind of cool. Good for him. And, after he became kind of big, he kind of started doing, quote, tours, and talking about his weight loss and showed his pants to show how much weight he's lost and trying to help out kids and how to be healthier. And, we've talked a little bit earlier about, how a lot of, pedophiles will find ways to insert them into a position that would make things easier for them to victimize. And, well, he did just that. And he got caught. I don't even remember how or what the incident was that got caught. But he got caught. Subway dumped him fast, because they certainly didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, they didn't want to support that.
Yeah, and so, and I'm not knocking Subway, and nobody knows, that'd be like me wanting to disown my church because there was somebody that decided to, abuse their power and abuse a child. But
well, you talked about this clip, so I'm going to play it real quick.
Yeah, I want people to hear it.
Recordings being heard publicly for the first time, Jared Fogle discusses his sexual interest in children.
I like all ages. That's the thing. I like all of them,
Well, what makes it different? I mean, from one age to another, why does...
Well, it depends who's ready for what, and, who's going to give you the glance, you know what I mean?
The woman talking with Fogle is Rochelle Herman-Walren, a former radio host who interviewed Fogle and became suspicious when she overheard him say he found middle school girls attractive.
Oh, geez.
So mind you, he goes on and talks about, what he looks for and stuff. But the disturbing shit that bothers me is, they give you the glance. Nobody's giving you a glance, dude. That's your made up shit in your head. You're fucked up, man. Ain't no little kid looking at his dumpy ass. I don't care if he lost weight or not. He still looks like a nerd or whatever you want to call him, trying to be nice-ish, and thinks that they're giving him some sexual look. Like, and how about this? When he acts on it, do they still have that, quote, glance that you think they have? Or is it fucking terror? Sorry, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because this is how millions upon millions of human beings, not just in our country, but in this world, and they make up stuff, to make it seem like what they're doing is normal. They make up phrases so they don't have to feel the sting of that stigmatized phrase. So they don't want to be that, I'm not a pedophile. I'm a minor attracted person. It's not illegal. Not what I'm about to say. But, people are of age. And then they marry or get together, whether they marry or not, I don't know. But they'll get together, you'll have a 20-year-old, legal consent. But now they're with somebody that's 68 years old. Why was there be an attraction? What, I don't care. I know normal is, I know there's everybody on both sides of normal. But, I would think that, well, why would that gal be interested? Maybe a fat pocketbook? All right, I could see that.
Well, okay, so Anna Nicole Smith.
Right.
She married this billionaire when he was 86, I believe he was 86 at the time. And of course, she was super young. I don't know if she was like in her early 20s.
Right.
The story was about basically her, marrying him for his money.
But that's the attraction.
But I don't know that that's actually the case. As I was listening a little bit more about her particular story, this guy had actually proposed to her like 4 other times over multiple years.
But
and maybe, I don't know. He was dating a hooker while his wife had Alzheimer's, and he was still wheelchair bound. And then this lady died, and then he found Anna Nicole and started hanging out with her. And I don't even know if there was any, sexual relationship there. But
I think most
to
people
be 86 and
to watching somebody get naked in front of you and stuff, there's a little bit of sexualness there.
Yeah, maybe some mental.
Some wives might even think that it might be cheating on them if you go out there and pay for another girl to get naked and sit on your lap and stuff. So, but when I see that somebody might be attracted to, I'm not saying that she is or isn't, whatever, but attracted to their pocketbook, I could get that. That's its own disturbingness.
Well, you were talking about the kids that are abused have these different issues. Well, Anna Nicole was one of those kids. She grew up in a very rough home and was abused, and
maybe by somebody like the old dude.
Yeah.
Or does he just like?
Well, and that's the thing is that
want some. I don't know.
Most normal people wouldn't accept that type of relationship with that age discrepancy, but there was abuse on her side. I don't know about his side, but there was abuse on her side, and so in that case, it was consensual, but still. Most normal people wouldn't be marrying an 80-something-year-old and having some sort of relationship with them.
Yeah.
And you were on it earlier, which is early abuse in their childhood does, screwed up things in their brain.
Right. Because normal isn't really always bad, people.
Mm-hmm.
These days when you say normal, they're like, oh, yeah, but you're just trying to be normal. Like, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, there are some good things about that.
Mostly good.
There was another, we were talking about age gap relationships.
Right.
Hugh Hefner, he's a famous one, huh?
Yeah.
How many relationships did he have?
Couldn't count them. And I don't think he could either.
Yeah.
And he had several at one time too, but those are extravagant examples, because there's also everyday people where there's no real big pocketbook there. There's nothing that they're getting. Like these gals, he could get something from him, place to stay, some fame, some money, get treated well, perhaps. But, there's everyday people from, working at the supermarket, and this one here happens to work, I don't know, a teacher or anything else. And there's 40 years and I just, and I've seen commercials about it. And like somebody put time and lots of money to make a commercial about people that are even, I get it, they're within legal consent ages, but it's not normal. And I try to see, okay, they have to be attracted. Like I say, a pocketbook. Well, I could maybe see that there's a lot of money or security, okay? But for a guy, or it doesn't matter, I guess, who cares? For an older woman or older guy to look at a younger person that's so much younger, and I'm talking like 30 years is, why do you have that attraction?
I'm kind of curious about at what point, like, for instance, I kind of get a little uncomfortable when there's an 18-year-old and someone who's, in their 30s even. As that 18-year-old becomes in their 30s, and now we're talking about someone in their 60s, then I go, maybe there's not as much, because I think that younger person has developed to a certain point in adulthood to be able to make decisions for themselves, and I go, okay, I don't care that much. But there is an age where the level of maturity and mental development hasn't really hit yet, or like we were saying earlier, they have had major abuse issues when they were younger, and that will kind of tweak their brain and their ability to make certain types of decisions later.
Absolutely. I know that, a young gal or girl that have what people call daddy issues, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have
that
to
is
get
a common
detail. Will seek out and find something to comfort them. Maybe that's the glance that Jared Fogle's looking for, is somebody that's been abused so he could finish it off, But
that is part of, I think that is part of the, the identification phase of this type of abuse is, what Jared's talking about is looking for kids that have certain things going on, certain characteristics about, how they interact with other people, how they dress, how they might take care of, how many other people interact with them and in what way. I mean, he's identifying certain things, and then of course he's got that little mental thing that says, oh yeah, if they smile at me, suddenly they're attracted. No, that's you
all you.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people that are I don't want to just say entertainment, but people that are, because I don't like to say in power either, but that are well known, are what's the word I'm looking for? I don't
like famous or influencers, or
I could say famous, but I mean people that are like pastors or teachers or coaches,
like mentors,
or even singers and actors. So I'm trying to lump up people that are police officers, somebody that you're supposed to be able to trust, or you don't even think about it. So, you have a lot of people that follow and chase bands, follow and love actors, and they think so highly of them, and they meet them, and they may not have any sexual desires for these people, but they're still, like all the girls screaming at the Beatles, they just, or faint, because they're just around somebody that's so famous, and they will often use their fame or power or status to take, and they can even see that as, oh, they want me.
Yeah.
And who cares? Even if they did or didn't, shouldn't you be able to not abuse them? I mean, it's the reason why they call it abuse. You know?
Yeah, they kind of take advantage of that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that have done that and are still doing that. And
don't you think though that there's a push on the political left to normalize this stuff in more areas? I know. I mean, on my list I had Sam Adams. He was a Portland mayor.
Yeah. He messed around with a 17-year-old, I think it was.
Yeah, Beau Breedlove was a intern,
and I remember this back in the day. And I don't think we would pull it up or have it. So I'm just going to tell you, this isn't a quote. I can't find it. I don't know the exact quote, but I remember the talk was, yeah, but he was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is it because he's gay? We're going to just, Samuel Adams is gay. I don't know if he was or he is gay. And I'm like, why are we brushing this under the rug? It seemed like, who cares if he's like, well, he's almost old enough. I'm like,
yeah, I did.
I
found a little piece about it.
Yeah, let's check it out.
In 2005, Adams met Beau Breedlove, a 17-year-old interning for Oregon State Representative Kim Thatcher. In September 2007, Adams denied rumors of a sexual relationship between the two, calling the allegations scurrilous. I don't know what that word is.
Bullshit is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, and adding that they played into stereotypes of the predatory gays. In 2009, after being confronted with the story in the Willamette Week local newspaper, Adams acknowledged about lying about the nature of their sexual relationship. And then Breedlove confirmed what was their relationship.
Right. And
he still stayed in office during this time. He lied about it, but of course he's a Democrat mayor, and he had the support of his party.
Right.
And didn't make it a big deal until later on, and they just kind of brushed it under the rug.
Yeah, and I hate that they utilize. I'm not saying that people don't or haven't, but saying that he's gay, so he's a pedophile, and that's not true.
Yeah.
Not all gay people are pedophiles. There's gay. is a fraction of them in every walk of life.
Yeah.
And most people know somebody that's been abused, and you know.
Well, but in this case, it's like this was an illegal thing. He was in a position of power, elected official, and still nothing was done ever about it. Even today, not done anything about it.
Right. It's odd where some people go to jail forever and die in jail because of it, because it's not taken too well in jail. But if I remember correctly, it was probably 7-8 years ago, I knew somebody who had I knew somebody that his dad had gotten to jail for molesting some children. And I heard that there was like 30% of people, at least in that jail or in jails in general, I don't know, were there because of that.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? Then who? People aren't kicking the shit out of them enough in jail. You know, they don't know how serious it is. You know, but again, that statistic I don't know is true or not. But there's a lot more than we think are. But at the same time, when you have power, when you're somebody, it goes. And I mean, even in churches, we talk about the Catholic Church. You can pay them off. You can move along. And guess what? All it does is allow more victims. It doesn't stop it. Yeah. You know, we have old MJ, Michael Jackson. He's had a couple situations here and there. He's paid off a lot of people himself, right?
Yeah.
And he still, people, not only, even while this was happening, parents still took their kids over there.
He was a very unique one because he was so famous and was trusted by so many of these families to come over to his Neverland Ranch and sleep in the same room, let alone sleep in the same bed with him. There's some that is crossing a line that these parents should never have crossed.
But some of these parents, go ahead.
Well, he ended up, this huge investigation, and he ended up basically, I don't know if the charges were dropped, but he ended up winning this case where it proved himself that he wasn't guilty of the claims of molestation.
In other words, they couldn't prove
he
did it.
Yeah, but if you look at all the different behavior and all the kids that he used to hang out with, and then they talk about, you know, sleeping in the same bed with him and how, you know, caring and all this stuff. There's just some weird stuff in there. Even if he didn't actually molest a kid, he still has crossed some lines, and there should be red flags everywhere. There were two people who came out later on and did this documentary that had basically made these claims. The problem is that there was a lot of information about them that turned out to be, people would say, false. And so then it sort of, even the hints of some of the allegations start to lose credibility because these two weren't very credible.
Well, and you know, there's a reason why I didn't want to watch it or haven't watched it or whatever, is because these people waited till he died to speak up.
Yeah.
You know, where are you trying to stop the situation? You know, are you just trying to glorify yourselves now at this point? You know, I'm all about bringing it up, even in any point in time. But if it was so rampant, then screw you. You just wanted your job, you know?
Yeah. Wade Robson and James Safechuck. Those were the two in this Leaving Neverland documentary. And what bothers me is just that there was a lot of false things in this particular thing. And it creates, I don't know, it basically has people protecting more of Michael Jackson and who he was and what he did, even though there's some red flags of what Michael Jackson was doing. You know, kids sleeping in his bed, that's a huge red flag. And just because you got two guys that appeared to be suing the estate to get a whole bunch of money doesn't mean that the things that are documented are any less
valid,
harmful.
Right. Oh yeah. I agree. I think that a lot of the issue is that even while some of these things were going on, the parents, I mean, mind you, let's just say we don't know what was going on, but how cool would it be? He's like, yeah, I'm going over to Michael's house. Yeah, we hang out. The kids hang out. It's cool, you know. I mean, to know somebody that high up in fame. But Michael, he was abused too, and he's also a secluded. Trust me, I think he is an outstanding performer, talented as heck. But because of his fame and his being raised the way he was, I think he was just really messed up. He had a hard time being able to. I'm not making an excuse for anything whatsoever. It's just understanding. You know, I had a discussion with a family member about some people that were. It's funny. It's not funny, but you know, we just crazy that we were just talking about this. Just not because of the show. It wasn't that long ago, and we were talking about somebody that we found out was another sicko, and I stop. I go, oh my gosh, that's insane. I go, I bet you he was abused terribly. And, you know, and then my family member was like, you know, that's, you know, that doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not saying it matters, but if you can't sit back and think of where it starts, you don't know where to end it. You know, I mean, you have to have the understanding of how it keeps going. And people are just too busy to shut down the one past and hang this person too. Like you need to dig up that whole root system of that family tree and burn it all.
Well, there's so many people who grow up having abuse in their life in some form or another, who do kind of get over and become amazing people and hugely successful. But then there's also a segment of the population that never get over it.
Yeah.
And one of the big commonalities is abuse as a child. It has an immense impact on your brain when this traumatic stuff happens as a kid.
Sure.
And it's really hard to get over it. And depending on the type of environment that you've lived in, even through your adulthood, sometimes that stuff never goes away.
Well, these people want it to be normalized. Well, I'll tell you what, you see, go to a family where it has been normalized for, I'm just going to throw it out, 16 years, where somebody was abusing somebody else, thinking it was a normal thing to do, and it's destroyed their lives. Today, even after the person's been dead for 30 years, you know what I mean? Nobody really, except for the perpetrators, want it normalized. And it's disturbing that that's what they want. It's a disturbing thoughts.
Yeah.
But
I want to take a quick break and then come back talk about the Catholic Church.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. Back in a minute. Dave and I appreciate you listening to the show. Please take a moment and write a review on Apple Podcast or podchaser.com. And since Spotify doesn't currently have reviews, simply telling your friends about the show would be great too. Also, you can always reach out to us at our website, nevertooserious.com, or via our socials at the NTS Podcast. And seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, thanks again for listening to the show. So the Catholic Church, one of the most famous organizations, because the pedophilia that was going on in their organization, and then of course all the lawsuits that followed.
Right.
And we're talking about, you know, kids that were abused that didn't, you know, they didn't mention this stuff until they were well into their adult years.
Right.
And in some cases mentioned, you know, after the priest that harmed them had died. And the Catholic Church in 2017, there were a total of 414,000 priests. And what's interesting, the Catholic Church, even through the years as all of these different things have come out, the Catholic Church has actually grown from, they said it was 653 million in 1970 to almost 1.3 billion in 2012. So the church has grown significantly,
Wow.
But the number of priests is massive. I mean, we're talking 400,000 priests from all over the place, and the lawsuits have been stacking up like crazy. They said that the average settlement for these clergy sex abuse victims was approximately $268,000 per abused, victim.
Wow.
That's huge. In some cases, they said that the settlement had received over $1 million.
Well, and they have the funds to pay it. Wow.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. There's other, quote, corporations out there. I'm not saying, I don't know how you want to see this, but that would have to shut down with that many lawsuits.
It would. Yeah, the organization would go away.
And then is it even slowing down or stopping? Do they put a stop to it? Paying people off isn't usually, well, I guess these are lawsuits, so that's actually bringing it up. But,
they're still, I mean, they're instituting a lot of different other mechanisms within their organization to catch this kind of stuff. But, I mean, we're talking over $3 billion.
Wow.
$3 billion. That's
a lot of abused kids.
That's a lot. Isn't that just disturbing? I saw an article from, I want to say it was a Huffington Post. I'm not a big reader of their stuff, but they were talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses church.
They get involved in the gig?
Yeah, because they're very sort of a private religious organization, and they evidently, there's a practice there that they don't trust outside authority a whole lot. And so when there's issues within the organization like child abuse, they
keep it internal.
They don't let it get outside.
Keep going.
Well, sure, because then what are the controls inside?
Right. It might even enable a pedophile to be able to put themselves in place because, hey, this is an okay place to, practice their thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, well, especially if they become in some sort of leadership position. Right. And it's really tough in a religious institution because, people, generally the followers, they believe in this stuff wholeheartedly, and they trust their leaders to guide them through this religious experience, and they don't want to go against these leaders because they fear some sort of wrath from God.
That I was going to say I don't know if there's any stats to prove this, but I always believe that within churches when it happens, because usually it's somebody of an authority or obviously an adult, and you're always supposed to go to an adult for help, and but there's more. I feel that there's more issue when it comes to something underneath a religious umbrella, because now you're going to, because everybody sins. I mean, I don't know. There's just more guilt involved in coming forward. I mean, think of all the people that's come forward in any situation, or not just the churches, but that's only just a partial part of not all of them come forward. Not all the people come forward. And in fact, I would bet that it's just the tip of the iceberg that ever comes forward, and there's more that never ever do and suffer the rest of their life.
There are a lot of pressures in those organizations because there's rules and there's things you're supposed to do or not do. There's a lot of influence from the leadership, but there's also then the influence from the higher power and what you're supposed to be doing to follow the guidelines of that.
Well, then they can feel guilty because they committed these acts too, and even they feel they're being so vulnerable that kids can think that it's their fault.
Oh, yeah,
and that they have to or need to or should. It just tears their minds up. They don't know what they're thinking exactly. I don't know.
There's another area that I think is, well, let me put it this way. There's a lot of abuse, and I know that these institutions are trying to do more things to prevent it. But in education, teachers, you're talking about people earlier about their influence and being an authority figure and being liked and all this. Teachers are fit into that category, and there have been a lot. I saw a website that listed 25 female teachers.
Oh yeah,
that had been guilty of abusing their students.
Right, in amazing ways, getting pregnant,
There's some
even marrying the kids after everybody did their time. It's disturbing.
Yeah, there's some famous ones. Mary Kay Letourneau.
Yep. I think she's the one that actually ended up
marrying her victim, and they had kids, and eventually I think that they got divorced, but much later on down the road. But yeah, she was a famous one. Shorewood Elementary School. Yeah. It's just amazing. Some of them, and I was looking at some of the ages, and they do have mugshots here, and some of them, like, the teachers are not like bad looking. They don't look super creepy. Their age ranges go from, in their lower mid-20s
Right.
to, I saw some that were in their upper 40s.
It's not like Harvey Weinstein with a wig on, It's
Yeah.
not like it's
And I don't.
it's to me, and I didn't look it up or anything, but these are people that's been abused,
Mm-hmm.
and they're acting out on it.
It's
It
amazing.
just goes from the lowest, from like you said, other countries that are, dirt poor to, you have your Jeffrey Epstein and, Prince Andrew, these are the high ups as they go, and it's in every walk of life. You can't, if kids get lucky enough to never be sexually abused, unfortunately, their friends, they're going to know somebody that has been.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that common, and it is not talked about enough. And in fact, there's paths for this to grow right now, not to be extinguished. I know everybody says the right thing. Everybody has something in place, to discuss it, but I see movements of it getting bigger and people growing bolder, and somebody makes a statement on, liking little kids, and there's like 10,000 likes. That's a problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't care if it was 10,000 in all of America. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and some other news stories came out. CNN producers, 2 of them, came out with, with different claims of, arrested for unlawful sexual activity with a minor. And these are some of these folks. I mean, I think one of them was working with, I want to say it was Jake Tapper. I mean, he's a producer that's working with some high-end talent.
Right.
And it's amazing that it's just come out now, because it seems like these are the types of folks that have had issues for years. So it's not like it suddenly came out and suddenly they're attracted to minors.
Do you ever really hear too many stories about, this person, he abused this one kid and he got in trouble, and it was his first time, luckily? No, it's almost always it's been going on for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Years and years, and it's I guess they're good at it. I don't know I know it's all has to do with how tormented the victim's mind becomes, where they're just scared and can't. Well,
eventually these kids, they grow up and they come forward. Josh Duggar, he's another famous one that came out, child porn.
What was he from?
He was from that reality show with 19 kids or something ridiculous.
Oh,
he was one of them.
I was gonna say I recognize his name, but I couldn't.
Yeah, he was one of the kids that I want to say that they actually followed him as like a spin-off type show, but that was a family that was on video constantly. Someone had to have seen something from him early on that would suggest that he had some,
like, petting of the hair or sniffing of kids or something like that.
Geez, yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Come on, man.
So school trainings happen at schools that cover a huge number of topics, but one of them is child abuse. And I just pulled out one of the these are the phases, and this is not necessarily the standard set of trainings for every school, but this is in particular, I think this one came from
I would like to
Texas, and they were saying the first phase is the engagement and grooming phase. And this is identifying those kids that maybe are outcasts, or they have
one that has Gerald Fogle's glance.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
but little loner, possibly loners, or
they have this sexual interaction, which is not necessarily penetration. It can be other sort of things. It could be even just doing stuff that would be like someone exposing themselves to someone else.
Absolutely.
And then there's a next phase, which is secrecy, which is, trying to make sure that no one knows.
Yeah.
And of course, these little kids, they don't want to get this person in trouble. They have this unique relationship with them, but eventually that stuff kind of goes away. They grow up and things change, and then they start, telling people.
Yeah.
So that next phase is the disclosure phase, where people start to find out about what's going on, and then there's a suppression. So that can vary in this particular case, where people grow up and they want to not say anything about it. They just want to get over it.
Move on with your life.
Move on. But they
never do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying they're choosing to go harm somebody or that they can't be productive and have a great life.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't go away. And I'm not saying it would ever go away, but you could have moments where it's hard to handle, and it could be handled better for you. I feel if you spoke about it and not suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very helpful.
Yeah. Well, and then you can get strategies to get your life together and be,
absolutely.
Successful.
Absolutely.
Some sexual abuse statistics in the United States. Department of Health and Human Services, Children's Bureau, 2010 found that 9.2% of victimized children were sexually assaulted. So that's a pretty big percentage of those that were abused were actually sexually abused. 1 in 5 girls, 1 in 20 boys is a victim of sex abuse. That seems a little high.
Yeah. Like I said, most people, they go to school, there's a lot of kids around them. And again, if they're lucky that they didn't get abused themselves, they're going to know some people that do.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be great that, and I appreciate that they talk about it in schools, that kids could be strong enough to speak out for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard and it's rare that they do, or at least not during the time that could benefit them the most, that could stop it or stop them. So like you said, is some people wait till they're dead and then they have the courage to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
But they could have also stopped many more abuses from happening.
Well, I'm concerned about the normalization that I'm seeing, especially, the clip that we played early in the show about.
They're not bashful about calling themselves pedophiles.
They want to be considered to be minor attracted people, and let's get rid of the stigma, right? If we get rid of that stigma, then these stats are going to continue to climb, and we want to shrink these things. 16% of youth ages 14 to 17 had been sexually victimized in a 1-year period in the United States. Over the course of their lifetime, 28 of the U.S. Youth ages 14 to 17 had been sexually victimized.
So let me ask you, do you think that these are based upon the people that come forward?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are.
I mean,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think? I mean,
there's a lot that's probably unreported.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying that I would put money on it's far worse than it sounds.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Did you want to add anything else to?
Scott, if there is something that we could, I don't know, try to put out there to help people, do you have information that maybe if somebody does want to seek help?
I'll put the web address in the show notes.
That's
so
great.
Folks can follow it. But
thank you.
Yeah, if you suspect that there's some abuse happening and there's immediate danger, definitely call 911. That's a great way to go. But you can also just go to the childwelfare.gov website, and there's a whole bunch of resources there. If you need help.
Yeah, seek it.
Yep.
Heck, you can even reach out to us. We at least could even give you a number or two.
Yep. We'll put some information on our website.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we will leave it at that. I guess until we see you next time, take care.
And be safe.